I delight in how diverse people are and how they express themselves. And when somebody hits me with a certain vocal rhythm or exuberance or sleeping quality or something like that, that I leave and I'm still thinking about them and I find myself walking down the street trying to talk like them, I just get so excited because I was like, oh yeah, it's like fresh blood, fresh material, I don't have an opinion, good or bad, about them. I just like that we're different enough that we can explore other people, how they move in the world.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Michaela Watkins is an actor. She sat down with me in New York City to talk about the work.
I want to start with a quote from you.
Okay.
A character is not interesting for me to perform if I feel like it's not a real person. The game was always, how do I make this a real person? I don't know how to play this if I can't embody a whole person. And I know this doesn't sound like a mind-boggling, profound quote that I'm reading, but it's kind of shocking how, especially in comedy, this is not the first thing people think about. It seems like it's, how do I play this joke? And you read a script and I know how to play this. I know what they're looking for here.
Right.
It seems like you, from what I've read and from what I've seen that you do, it has to be coming from a character. I want you to just talk about this and talk about specifically when you first read a script, tell me what you do to slide into the character, the preparation work that has to happen there.
I already know I'm going to enjoy this podcast because you're challenging me right now to think about this thought. And I like that you read a quote because I think it sums up sort of a pretty, a big thing for me that I don't know that I'm doing consciously when I read a script. It's almost like when I read a really funny script, I know that I'm going to probably make it less funny because it's so funny on the page. It's like, well, what am I going to bring to it? I might mess up these really beautiful, exacted, hilarious lines. But if it's like, if there's humor in it and it's rooted in the character, then I know I can bring something unique to it. And therefore I can make these lines sort of elevate in a way that maybe they don't always jump out on the page, And look, if there's funny writing, there's funny writing. I'm just saying I don't know how much value I'm going to add to it, because it's already good. But if the impetus for each character opening their mouth and speaking is coming from a real person, then for me the game is, and the fun is, especially if it's a comedy, is like, what is the funniest version of this person, and to help tell this story? Like, what would I find most entertaining about that person? But it has to be real. It can't just be sort of a Mr. Potato Head where you put the lips on here and the ears on here. It has to be actually a real human.
And do you see that reality in the script? Is it on the page, or do you have to? I'm sure there's some scripts where you're like, this is funny, but I'm not seeing the depth here. And then do you add the depth, like in order to get those lines to be real for you from a real person? Does that make any sense, that question? Yeah.
Well, do you mean in terms of like improvising and bringing that kind of thing?
No, I guess what I mean is like, if you're seeing it and you're like, it's kind of funny, but I'm not seeing, it's not a real person.
Well, a lot of times I read scripts and I'm not sure I see the real person yet, because a lot of times, especially more in TV than film, but it moves so quickly that the writers, if I'm playing a supporting part, which I often do, the writers haven't had time or really that much interest in the supporting part, because they're there to service a story. And so for me, my work is, I look at things now and I'm like, is this the work I want to do? I know I'm going to have to bring a lot to this, and I'm going to have to figure out who this person is. Is this going to be an area I've tried before or not? And if so, if it's not, if there's something new I can discover, new I can bring, or a new side of myself that I can kind of challenge myself with, then I get really excited about it. I get scared too, you know. I'm sure I've had like characters that have been reminiscent of others and repeat, you know. I just don't want to repeat. That's the only thing. And as much as, you know, it'd be nice to be able to just fall back on that character and bring that character to this project, it's not fun for me if I don't have the challenge of creating a whole new version of a person. And yes, they might get angry in a similar way, or, you know, this, that, or, I only have my voice, so I can't change. It's finite how much I can really, you know, change my voice. But I really, really have to have a full-bodied person, and it goes for any tone. You know, no matter how broad it is, I need this person to be recognizable. If you walked into a 7-Eleven, you'd be like, oh, there's that crazy lady. I mean, I have people who send me pictures of people all the time when they're standing in line at, you know, the grocery store, and they just say, like, this is your next character. Because, and I know exactly what they mean just by looking at this person. I'm like, yeah, I know that is my next character, you know? And it's just because that is just so fun for me. We walk amongst so many people, you know. I delight in how diverse people are and how they express themselves. And when somebody hits me with a certain vocal rhythm or exuberance or sleeping quality or something like that, that I leave and I'm still thinking about them, and I find myself walking down the street trying to talk like them, you know, I just get so excited because I was like, oh yeah, it's like fresh blood, fresh material, you know. I don't have an opinion, good or bad, about them. I just like that we're different enough that we can explore other people and how they move in the world.
As a way of beginning to talk about directors and how directors work with you and what works best, I want you to talk about Jill Soloway. And like just talk about,
she rules.
Especially if you could just tell really quick the story of what she first said to you when she met you. Oh,
she said, are you my muse?
Yeah, and that was like the third line she said, the way you said it.
Yeah, somebody introduced me to her and she looked at me and she gave me a once over. The first thing she said to me is, are you funny? And I said, I don't know. And she said,
you can't answer that yes, right?
I said, well, I don't know. It depends who you ask. My mother doesn't think so. She's like, yeah, she's just stealing my material, is what my mother would say. No, but she said, are you funny? And I was like, sure, I don't know. And she said, you're funny, I can tell. And she said, are you Jewish? And I said, ish. And then she said, are you my muse? And I was like, I'd like to be. Because when I met her, she was negotiating for a job, the person who introduced me to her. He said, I'd love you to come work on my show. And she goes, and she kind of like said, well, this is the position I want to be. And he's like, oh, well, that position's taken. And she's like, well, that's the one I want. And he's like, okay. And I thought, did a woman just advocate for herself like that in front of my eyeballs? I've never, like, to this man who's so commanding in his role in our business, like, she just did it so effortlessly and unapologetically. That is the most wonderful thing I've ever seen in my life, you know. That was before millennials, so millennials were still in high school at this time, so we didn't know what it was like to like ask for what you needed. And
so you were like, I'll be the muse for that.
I was like, I don't know if I'm your muse, but I really want you to be my mentor. And she was in so many ways. I mean, she helped me with, she just would write me these emails that were so inspiring, and it was not just, well, it might have been about like romantic relationships, but that she was giving me advice on. But when you start to, just like this movie, Brittany Runs a Marathon, by the way, when you understand your value and that it's okay to be loved and be supported and be able to accept that help, it's amazing what you then can accomplish, you know. Like that was the sort of broken part of me, is that I didn't think I deserved to take up any space. And so she really gave me a template and for how women are allowed to move through the world, because I felt like we had to be demure and feminine and not distasteful to the male gaze. So she just really kind of changed my life, and I just can't say enough great things about her. As a director, you know, she was a writer at this time when I met her. She started to want to dabble in directing, and that's when she really kind of used me, and she was like, in all the best ways, you know, but I was game. We started making Funny or Die videos. I would have an idea and tell it to her, and she would say, well, I got a camera, let's go shoot it. And we started making these videos, and they went a little virally, and I started getting work from them. It was very strange because, you know, we just started putting our stuff out there, kind of just putting it out there. And then she started writing little scenes and started filming those, and then just going out with a camera. And she was using Frankie Shaw a lot as well at that time, because Frankie was like a young woman with this really interesting voice, and trying to find her own voice. And I think she was really encouraging to Frankie too. And Jill sort of just kind of collected people that she found interesting and then elevated them. And when she started to really, when she made, we made a short that went to Sundance called Una Hora Por Favor, which I know is incorrect Spanish, but that was part of the point. And then while she was at Sundance, she said, I'm going to finish my feature. And she came back the following year with Afternoon Delight. And I was in that as well. Kathryn Hahn starred in that.
Which is an underrated movie.
I agree. Thank you.
That needs to be rediscovered.
Yes.
I had Kathryn Hahn on. We were talking about
it.
Oh,
yeah. Kathryn Hahn's performance in that was outstanding. And, you know, the way Jill sort of, I know we're talking about acting, but Jill's, the director that Jill was in that short film, she was so completely changed by the time she did her feature, and it was only a year later. So the amount that a person can grow in our business and evolve is so staggering to me. You know, we all have to do our 10,000 hours or whatever, but it's just amazing that if you set your mind to it, how you can really, really, really expand. And her voice became so crystallized in Afternoon Delight, and her aesthetic became so crystallized, which she moved into Transparent, which she was able to direct, and cultivated her own style of directing in Transparent, and has been mentoring other female directors, queer directors, people that she feels like need just a helping hand, you know, and who've asked, quite honestly, who said, can you help me? And she always says yes. And she's given a style now where, taking this sort of male form, because it's always, you know, previously been men, and she doesn't say action, she doesn't say cut, she just, the film, you know, she there is no time on a Jill Soloway set. You're never running out of money, you're never running out of time. Jill just does not feel like anything good can come from, hurry up, we're running out of light, we're running out of money, we're running out of light, we're running out of money. So there's this sense of discovery and exploration and play, and the camera, everybody is empowered to feel like a part of the story. There's not above the line and below the line. You know, the actors and the director, and then everybody else, you know, everybody is a valued, respected human spirit on her set. And I don't mean that to sound as schmaltzy as it does, but, you know, screw it. It is schmaltzy, and it should be schmaltzy because we're making art. Yeah.
I mean, but speaking of that, what is it that you need on a set to do your best work?
Encouragement. I would love to be like a Kim Basinger, who's, you know, 9.5 weeking it and having, you know, who Adrian Lyne or whoever it was, and Mickey Rourke like yelling at her and telling her she's dirt and nothing. You know, I wish that was like, I had that like, I just need a coach who's gonna like kick my ass and tell me, get out there and not suck. But I have sort of learned about myself, like, I am such a ridiculous people pleaser that if I am making you happy and you show me that I'm pleasing you, I will do anything. I will go shoot a scene in, an igloo in a bikini if that is what you think is going to be the thing that I can help you to make the most beautiful thing you can imagine. So if somebody is encouraging to me, I just came from working with Adam Arkin. You know who he is, and I just joined
as a director.
As a
He was
director,
yeah.
On this, I just came from Vancouver. We were doing the 3rd season of Get Shorty, which is Chris O'Dowd's show, and Adam is like, because he's an actor, he knows how to talk to actors in the most beautiful way. It's part collaboration. It's part, and I know what he's doing. He's trying to make you feel like he's giving a note that you can run with and make it yours. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Right.
He's not hiding it. It's just that, I know he knows how to read actors and see what they need. And for me, I think he knew I needed hey, that was great, we're gonna go again. You know what I mean? If he thought it was garbage, lie to me, because I don't like bullshit. If somebody's lying to me, I'm gonna know. Yeah. But so don't lie to me. But if I am in the right zone, tell me, because I'm only going to keep giving you more and more and more. I'm going to give you so many variations on everything that you're going to get in the editing room and just have so many to choose from, because I'm not going to be trying to get it right. If you think I'm doing well, I'm going to keep trying to impress you more, and try to find more and more truth in it, and try to find what I think is because while you might like it, I'm I know I can do better. I know I can do better. I know there's more here. I know there's more to mine. I know there's more to explore. And I don't want to leave a scene with anybody thinking they didn't get enough from me.
Yeah.
That's that. I think that's the improv part of my background as well, which is I'm not afraid to try anything. There's nothing I'm afraid to try. So I thought that was normal and par for the course, but I've had directors tell me wow, I looked at the dailies. Sean Jovi had a show called Wayne. He said, I look at the dailies, which I don't usually do, but when I looked at the dailies, I was like, wow, you never did it the same way twice, which could be a problem, but he just was I just felt like if we wanted to play with tone, you gave us the pithy version and the heartless version and
is this because you're conscious of that's the best way to be for the editing, or because you need to keep yourself from being bored by the lines?
I guess I would phrase it as I'm constantly searching.
Yeah.
I'm like, what about this? Maybe it's this.
Because even if it was good, it could be better maybe in another way.
Maybe it could be better. Maybe this is what it is. Or you know what, when we just did it, it made me think of this, and maybe it's about this, So it's just, I just keep trying new things. And sometimes I'm wrong, I know I'm can we go again? That was terrible, But other times I'm that was interesting. I mean, you have it.
Yeah.
If you want it, you have it. But I'm not sure it's the right thing. But there was something interesting that happened with the other actor there, and also I'm always reacting, right? Because that's what it is. And if an actor, if my scene partner changes one little thing, it's going to completely change me. And it's a bummer sometimes, because sometimes you're only on you, and you're you can't see what they're doing, and they just raise their eyebrow, and that affected me,
Right.
So
in the editing, you're not going to have that eyebrow raised,
that.
even if your take was good. You're not going to see what the impetus you had for that.
Exactly, but
Yeah.
But truth, I'm just always going for the truth of that moment, and hopefully they align.
I cried so much in Brittany Runs A Marathon, alone in the press screening, that I thought, is there going to be cheek marks when I leave here? And is someone going to be like, wow, that guy was crying?
I love that.
Tell me how you became involved with it. And this character is is a little different. Like you're not necessarily the funny role here. You have
No.
some funny things, but you're
I don't think I have
such
funny
an
things.
important role you play in her life.
I don't think I have funny things, but I think that's like for me why I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this is a restraining role. You know, this is like this role was about restraint for me, and I did it. This is one of those roles where I did it because I thought the project would be the most interesting, not necessarily like the role of Catherine is going to be interesting to me because I'm going to deep dive her, but you know but clearly like Brittany is, wow, what an astounding character, you know, and but I knew the project was going to be amazing because Jillian Bell is one of the funniest people I know, and she also has a heart as big as the universe. So you take those two things, like she's the real deal. She's, you know, she's strong and hilarious and ambitious and like business savvy as you hope someone would be. But what she has that a lot of people don't have as much of her is like incredible humanity, you know? And so when she called me to tell me about this role that she wanted me to do, she and Paul, the director, I guess Paul was saying he wanted me, and she's like, I'll call her. I really want her to do it. So she called me, and she was just telling me about this movie, but she hadn't gotten to the part where she was saying you should do this role of Catherine. But she said, I'm really afraid about this part. It feels really vulnerable. I'm so scared. And at first I thought, is she like asking for like my opinion on whether or not she should do it, or does she want me to read it and take a look at the script and give her my 2 cents? Or I was so flattered that maybe she wanted my opinion, but she was already doing it and she was scared. And when she told me about the part, I was like, yes. I mean, I've never seen this part before in a film. She and I are character actresses. We know each other from the Groundlings. And that's the parts we normally get, are these supporting roles. And I was like, they're giving a microphone to the supporting part. And we're getting to kind of do surgery on her and see what's inside and find out what your motivations are and your feelings and your perspectives and your wants and your dreams and desires and fears and your wounds and the minutia of your life. And finally, somebody's putting a camera there where it always should have been, because we're all freaking Brittany, you know. And you know, the idea that you through tiny steps can totally. I've lived that, you know. I've gone through that. So it was just a really moving project to me. And then she said, your character is sort of this kind of maternal, ends up being sort of a maternal. Like a support system for Brittany, but there's a lot of, you know, tension there at first because they don't, she doesn't like her. Brittany doesn't like Catherine. And I was like, great, you know, and only at, you know, when you see the movie, you realize there's so many more layers to Catherine, that her life is a living freaking hell. So it just really spoke to me because I feel innately, as I'm getting older, I feel this responsibility to younger women that I want to empower them, just like Jill empowered me. I want to bring them forward and say, support you, and you are worthy of a voice, and you are worthy of attention, you are worthy of your story being told, and you have something to say, and I want to help that, you know. And I think it's also interesting to me because I've been Brittany, where I have not been able to embrace that. Like, it was really hard for me to let Jill support me that way. I felt like I owed her so much for it, and I didn't know how to pay her back, and that was really destabilizing for me because I just was like, I didn't do anything. I just met her and she asked if I was her muse. I didn't do anything, you know? And I always worried, like, am I bringing enough value to our relationship, you know? And then I learned, like, fuck yeah, I am.
I want to end with a quote, and then I want you to either tell me something optimistic about this, or if it's not optimistic, just be straight with me. You said, I get upset when I read a broad comedy script and there's 5 hilarious guy parts and 3 parts for women. The main female part is 20% as funny as the man's part. And I want to say to the writer, if you feel embarrassed to have Zach Galifianakis play this female part, if this genders were flipped, then you need to go and rewrite it. That's what you said. And it got me thinking about like my own stuff and
You right.
what that's all about. And like, you know, there definitely is, you can think you're progressive all you want, but there's something about there's something deep in there, you know, whether it's a misogyny or something that, you know, all this stuff is bringing a lot of stuff up and reading stuff. And if you're really honest about things, you start to see things. But I want to know if anything has changed. Because I think you said this like 3 or 4 years ago, and a lot has changed in these 2 years.
Well, I mean, first of all, I want to applaud you because the way you're talking is the way an ally of women, or at least marginalized people who don't get to, you know, like I said, get the pen or the microphone, are you're understanding that condition, you know, the sort of lived experience of being a woman in our business. And I just want to say thank you for that. And appreciate you asking me about this. So it is changing for the reason that we all knew it would change, which is the people who are telling the stories are starting to change.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I am not interested. Look, if white men stopped telling stories, there wouldn't be a Brittany Runs A Marathon.
That's right.
So it's not to say stop it, but look at where he moved the camera. You know, even Paul, as a gay man, you know, has a character in his film, Seth, who, and it's not like a big deal that he's married and, you know, has kids and want more kids. It's just a part of life because that's, you know, Paul's world and that's his you know, optics. So when he starts writing the stories, you get characters like Seth, but also he is writing the story about his roommate Brittany, and we're hungry for those parts. And I think things are changing. I think when you get Issa Rae and Kumail and Jordan and all these people, you know, telling the stories now, the stories have gotten really fascinating and much more interesting and much more nuanced in these characters. And when I do read a script, which I did recently, where every single woman that was introduced, where all the men were introduced by their character and all the women were introduced by how attractive they were.
They still do that?
It happened. And I threw the script across the room and I was like, are you kidding me? It's 2019. Yeah. How did this guy not get the memo? I don't give a shit about how attractive this person is. Who the fuck is she? I don't want to know if she is wearing a little black dress that women her age can't normally pull off, which is a direct quote of this description of this character. So yeah, I'm glad I said that. I don't remember when I said that, but I'm so glad I said that. If you're embarrassed to have Zach Galifianakis play this part, but yet that's your female lead and you're just ready to slough it off onto some comedian, you know, female to do it, like, yeah, go back. You're not done. You haven't worked on it enough.
Yeah. You love that. So you're optimistic.
I am optimistic, yeah.
Let's leave it there.
Okay.
Michaela Watkins, thank you.
Thank you.
We need a part 2 of
I
this.
would love that.
Okay.
This has been really
Thank
fun.
you. Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.